let's jump right into it. So I'm looking at your pre-coaching call form. Can you provide a little bit more context? Because I can answer that based off of what you put in there. I'm just curious if there's more context so I best know how to talk about it. So let's talk about topic one. So what strategies have I found that are most effective for improving sales processes to support business growth from the lens of growing from 300 to 650,000?
Okay, so as of now, I hired two guys for to get them going for the season, and I started promoting, passing door hangers a lot more. And my next focus was going to be like online advertising, such as like Google, Facebook, and the online side. Okay. However, though, after they left, I had to step back in, hire somebody else. And so I'm in the middle of training right now, and dude, it just sucks so much time. I just want to see, like, should I just stick with the door hangers? Should I still try to focus some time on the Google, Facebook, or just trying to see if it'll be worth the time splitting off going towards those resources?
Other than yourself, you just have one employee right now?
Other than myself, I have Victor, he's fully trained, and then I have the new guy.
The situation you would be put in is if you are hammering marketing, you're going to be put into a position to hire another one here pretty quick, correct?
That's right.
And then if marketing really takes off, you're going to be put into a position to get another truck, correct?
So I have the second truck, which is, I guess I would need to get the third one if it came to that. I was going to start again with the hiring process to have somebody else on the in line. So in case either this hire doesn't work, or if I really need somebody else, I already have the next person lined up. We're 2 or 3 weeks away from that.
I would almost give you the green light to go hire another person right now. Hand off Victor, the employee that you just got done training. Now they're going to be fully booked 2-person crew. You're going to bring in that other employee and you're going to start training them. And once they're done being trained, you could then be put into a position to have one of them go solo, a 2-person crew, and then you out in the field solo and doing door hangers, etc.
I would bring in that third person in. I would train them up, and they can do either part-time to handle those budget hours, or either full-time, and the remaining time would be passing door hangers.
Until they get up enough schedule to where you and that person are now a full 2-person crew as well. And then at that stage, depending on time of year, you would make a decision to either go back into growth mode, which would be getting another truck, or just sit where you're currently at, raise prices, and get some cash in the books. If you wanted to go the growth mode route, depending on time of year, you would get another truck, and then you would have another employee that you would bring on to train. And now it's you and 4 employees at that point. You have 2-person crews that are not under your direct supervision, and you are now building up your solo route / doing door hangers / sales to get another third 2-person crew built up. And then effectively, if you can get 3 2-person crews at the right hourly rate, that's going to be about a 650,000 a year company.
Okay, so potentially that would be my goal. So that way next year it would just be a smaller jump from 650 to the 800 mark.
Yeah, so you might finish the year off at 500,000, but you would be set up to do 650, and then you would have a choice to make there. It's like, do I just want to sit at 650 and optimize these 3 2-person crews, or do I want to get a 4th truck and build up a route for me as well? But I mean, a 650,000, you could just get 3 trucks, 6 employees. You are in the office doing price increases, once you get back up to capacity, and just sit at that one location. And you can get that thing up to 800,000 a year with just 3 trucks.
Would you even recommend getting a 4th truck in that scenario then to hit the 800K mark, or just sitting at 650 and then just go to profit all the way to 800?
We have 4 trucks for ours at 800,000 a year location. The reason being is the 4th truck is like the GM's truck, where they can go out and do like odds and ends jobs. So for our Hutto location, we have our general manager expected to at least do 15 budgeted hours of revenue producing tasks per week. But you would be the GM in the scenario. And then that allows you to go do, and probably at that point, just use your personal truck to save money until you hire a GM, and then you'd probably need a company truck.
So typically that 4th truck wouldn't be used as a full-time crew. It would just be more so used to handle any overload or any other jobs aside from the mowing.
Correct. And it would be served as a backup truck in case one of the other trucks went down. Now, before we start getting into like 3 or 4 or 5 year visions, if we just sit there and pause there, we can now backwards plan. If our goal this year is to get 2, 3 trucks, 6 employees, you know that it's going to be a function of hiring and sales. Who is the one doing door hangers for you right now?
The contractor.
What kind of expectations and how are you tracking the success of them as an employee?
The way I handle it is they show up in the morning, the same as our time. For the guys, we load up and everything. I get them situated as far as like, okay, kind of like what happened yesterday, like how many door hangers, or not how many, but like how far did you get as far as the neighborhood? Did you complete the neighborhood? Did you run out of door hangers? Do you still have some left? Hand them off like a new stack per se in the new area that they would be going to. And after that point, they can go off and either pass them out right after they leave the shop, or they can pass them out in the evening or whenever they, like I give them a little bit more flexibility in that aspect.
How many hours a week are they working?
On average, 25 to 30, 35.
So let's just go average there of 30 hours a week. How much are you paying them per hour?
15.
And are you giving them a price per lead that comes in? And on these door hangers, is there a QR code?
Yes.
And on that QR code, where does it send them to?
To a job form, and each door hanger has their own QR code, so that way I can keep everything separate and see which one's working better.
That form that the QR code is linked to, is there any other way a website visitor can access that same exact form? Or is it the only way they can access that form is through the QR code on that door hanger?
It's only through the QR code on that door hanger.
Perfect.
Unless they call and they tell me that like I saw this offer, and then that way I can, okay, so that was most likely from this door hanger.
And when they call in and do not scan a QR code, do you have a way of tracking that?
I do not at the moment.
So what you need to do is, on how did you hear about us, you need to be very detailed on how they heard about you. If they're going to call in and they're going to say, this door hanger that has this offer, instead of just saying door hanger, you need it to say 2025 : 50% off door hanger. So you know exactly what door hanger that lead came from. Do you happen to know how many hangers he's getting out per hour?
Rough estimate of like 60 to 80.
When you placed the order for those door hangers, how many door hangers did you buy?
I've been buying in bulks at 5,000.
What does it cost you to order 5,000?
I believe it was around $750.
So about 15 cents a door hanger. What's your close rate?
67% last time I checked.
This is what I would communicate to that employee. Say you're working 30 hours a week, not a full-time year-long job. So at a 30-hour week, we need 24 leads minimum to come through door hangers specifically. For every single lead that comes in from a door hanger, and the way that you would know this, Jose, is you would look at how many submissions that are non-duplicates, because you could have someone fill out that form 3 times, right? Non-duplicate submissions, and if they call in, you got to track how they came in through the door hangers like we just talked about. That's how you can figure out per week how many leads came in. You can say we want 24 leads per 30 hours of work. For every lead that comes in, you'll get an additional $25. So when you're communicating this to that employee, you'd be like, here's how you can make $35 per hour. I would also track the leads coming in, because that's the only way that you're going to know that they're doing it. And then you can say, here's exactly how we're tracking the leads that come in from your door hangers. This QR code is only linked to this form. And so any submission that comes from this form means that it was from a door hanger. And then if they call, here's how we're tracking that. Basically covering all the bases to make sure that these are getting put out.
What I would be doing was just whatever area they did, I would occasionally go drive through it and just quickly see the door hangers. I did see them, but I just don't have the time to be doing that for every single day or every single time they go out and do it.
Exactly. And then what if they are doing door hangers, but you see no door hangers because every single person took it off their door? Now you're yelling at an employee because you think they didn't do it, but really they did it. Whereas I tell my people, hey, I track metrics, not minutes. So it's like I'm looking for 24 leads a week, because what that math works out to, especially at a 67% close rate, is you're going to be paying them $500 after payroll tax for their hourly rate of 30 hours a week. Then you're going to be paying after payroll tax $667 in commission on 24 leads that come in that week. Then you have the cost of $360 of door hangers because they're going to be handing out 2,400 because the expectation is 80 door hangers per hour at 30 hours is 2,400 door hangers a week. 15 cents a door hanger, that comes out to 360. So now the total cost per week for this employee to go out and hand out door hangers is $1,527. If you get 24 leads out of that, your cost per lead is roughly $63. And if you have a 67% close rate on those, now your customer acquisition cost is $94.
So if the numbers line up correctly, let's say this person is bringing in leads, 24 leads a week. And so in theory, if I would want to double those amount of leads, I would just hire somebody else as well and just double everything.
If you're getting the 1% conversion and you are getting 24 leads for every clocked hour, and you have the money and capacity to just double that down, like if that math is holding true and you are okay with spending $94 customer acquisition cost, double down while the demand is hot. But there's going to be an extra component where the employees are going to have an added expectation of tracking exactly which houses they put a door hanger on, because you don't want to go double dip.
For hiring somebody like this, I would go through the same process as a mowing, right? Pretty much what I did to hire this first person in the first place.
Ideally, I would try to leverage my internal connections first. Like, is there anybody in my internal database that needs a job? So that way you don't have to go through like an in-person interview and background check, etc., just to get somebody to hand out door hangers.
Is it still worth continuing through this pathway only as far as door hangers, or would you recommend also testing the waters with Facebook and Google?
The reason that I like the idea of testing out multiple channels is because it's going to allow you to get a better idea on what the most effective marketing channel is. However, if you don't have the time or resources to dedicate to finding out those two metrics, I would go with, like, if you're okay with a $94 customer acquisition cost, I would just focus on that so that the rest of your time can be focused on office admin, sales, and fulfillment. Just go with what works for right now. Worry about trials and testing when you have more time. If it was important to you to do A/B testing between door hangers and Facebook/Google, just take an hour out of screen time and put it towards this effort.
How can they improve my hiring skills? I feel like I get ran over a little too much sometimes. I am firm and I have the core values for the business, and that's what determines me as far as hiring and firing. But still, I guess I still have to work on that.
If you want to read a book on how to be the best leader, it is literally just reading the Bible and going through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Jesus Christ was a real person that walked this planet, and the Bible is a historical book. If you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that is the best example of what a leader is. Secondly, when it comes to getting like ran over from what you're saying, you need to have standards in place, core values in place, so that way Jose is not the one hiring or is not the one firing. It is the standards and the values of the business is the one firing. Your company is only going to be as good as the standards that you enforce. Now, if someone's smoking on a job and you go and you see them smoking on a job and you immediately fire them, you are now enforcing the employee handbook and that standard, and it sets the tone for the rest of your business. And it's not always easy because confrontation is uncomfortable. So there's a pro in not firing a person for failing to meet your standard. The pro of not firing that person is you are retaining an employee and not being overworked. The con is now all the rest of your employees knows that you don't enforce standards and they can do whatever they want and get away with it. You're actually better in the long term if you just enforce the standards. You're overworked in the short term, but you're establishing company culture. You have to realize, like, if we're taking a look at the net positive, what's going to get me the better net positive result in the long term? Is it avoiding confrontation, but then having a watered down culture in the future? Or is it being uncomfortable in the moment, enforcing the standard, and reestablishing what our culture is for the long term? But hiring is a function of sales where you can say, hey, here's where we are currently today. You show them literally on a piece of paper what your company's org chart looks in 10 years. If I were to bring you on, you'd be one of the, this is what I told our employees. I said, you would be on the Mount Rushmore of troops mowing. So once you said, when I accomplish this vision, where do you think you would be at on this org chart if you started with me today and you stuck with me for the next 10 years? They're probably going to point to the one right below where you are going to be. Like, you'd be the CEO. They're going to point and circle the COO position. Say, we are here right now, but don't let our current circumstances cloud you from where we're going in the future. I want you to look at the COO thing that you circled and you initialed next to. Print out a piece of paper and have them circle and initial and sign. And you can say, if you're not here in 10 years, I want you to quit.
How would you find the value for all the customers? So would that need to be at the end of the year and then just divide by however many clients you have at the moment?
Let's say that we had a customer that was never a reoccurring customer, but they paid for a $5,000 landscaping project. Technically, we're allocating that $5,000 and putting it towards our total reoccurring customer cost. So we're not getting a very true metric. If you're consistently inconsistent, you're consistent. If you're consistently tracking it that same way, you're giving yourself enough ammo to make educated financial decisions. And so what this also tells me is, if I'm going to say total annual value divided by total reoccurring customers, let's say that comes out to $3,000. You're going to be like, I know for a fact Mrs. Jones only got me $700 this year. So this number isn't true. She might have gotten you 700, but Mr. Smith might have gotten you 8,000. But if you can consistently say, let's say over 5 years of tracking, that my annual value per customer is $3,722 on average, then you can break that down into your net profit, and then you can divide that by 10, and then it'll get you your customer acquisition cost that you should be aiming to get underneath. Because then that allows you to know, for every $1 I put into marketing, I get $10 back. And then you're only now, instead of being like, well, I need to get 25% of my customers need to be one time, 75% need to be reoccurring, because if you're starting to get super granular, that doesn't matter. It's like, hey, on average, if I have 1,000 reoccurring customers, I know on average, through all of my upsell campaigns every year, through all of my sales efforts, on average, at the end of the year, each reoccurring customer gets me $3,300 whatever dollars. An individual basis, if you break it down per customer, it's like, well, these customers in this zip code with this service gets me 820. It's like, now you're just at that point, you're going to have so much data, you're not going to know what to do with it. And I think that starts with simplifying our metrics. What I want you to do is I want you to simplify everything we talked about. You know that you're going to have to track door hangers, and you know that you're going to have to create a task for you, let's say every single Friday afternoon, of getting your cost per lead cost and your customer acquisition cost. So simplify that whole process for that employee and make it very, very simple. You can go into the weeds with him, but say, hey, there's 3 steps, and I'm just making 3 up on the spot here, but there's 3 steps that lead to success for this position. 24 leads per week at 30 clocked hours, and a $94 customer acquisition cost. This is my goal for this position. If you need me to go into the weeds of how we can accomplish that, I can. But here's what I'm looking at. I want 24 leads and a $94 customer acquisition cost, max. The more leads, the better. And I need you to send me a list of the houses you've done that day, or the neighborhood you've done that day. Those are the 3 things that I need you to do. Any questions? Nope. Ready, set, go. Then, so simplify that. I also need you to focus on creating a 10-year vision for your company. Not that you're going to use that as a roadmap by any stretch of the imagination, but I need your dreams for your company to be big so that your employees' dreams can fit inside of them. Get that printed out, and I want you to print off 20 copies of that. So that way in an interview, when they're interviewing in your garage and they're like, I don't know about this place, you can sit there and show them the 10-year org chart, and they can circle, initial, and sign where they see themselves in the next 10 years if they stick with you. And then give that to them and say, I want you to hang this on your wall. That's going to help you have a company that's worth working for. And then that's also a function of sales. And then every single lead that comes in, I need you to execute with violence on sales. Doing those, just hiring and sales, that's going to move the needle the most for you this year. Don't get too caught up on everything else you could be doing on Facebook, Google, blah, 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 blah. Capitalize on the leads you're going to get from door hangers. Focus on hiring the right people, and focus on enforcing the standards after they're in the door.